the Geek Girl Riot. Geek Girl Riot.
Hey Riders! Up first is our PBS series Renegades Aftershow. Renegades premiered this month and runs for 3 more weeks. This documentary series showcases the lives and cultural contributions of little-known historical figures with disabilities. Hosted by award-winning musician and disability rights advocate Nachi, and created by Geek Girl writer Al-Mohamed, here it is, Renegades Aftershow Week 3.
Hi all! Welcome to Geek Girl Riot's after show for the PBS American Master Series Renegades. Renegades is a 5-episode short film series about 5 disabled badasses you've never heard of. I'm Renee, and this is...
I'm Marriott, and we're here to introduce you to Kashmir Jasmine, the director, and Marcia Halliger, the producer, for the Celestine episode Building a Legacy.
Celestine Tate Harrington was born without limbs. Harrington impressed audiences with her skill at playing the electric keyboard with her tongue. In 1975, the city of Philadelphia took away her baby daughter, claiming she could not provide adequate care. Harrington successfully defended her right to parent. In the courtroom, she demonstrated her skills dressing and undressing her baby daughter and changing her diaper using only her lips, teeth, and tongue.
Thank you for joining us. What drew you to Celestine's story? Either Kashmir or Marcia, whoever.
I'll let Marcia start on that one.
Well, Celestine is a Philadelphian. I am a Philadelphian. And as you mentioned, she's a badass. Whenever I speak about her, I just get so excited because she exemplifies Philly to the fullest. She had the grit. She was resilient. You know, she was super persistent. She had an amazing personality. And yeah, that's really what drew me to her.
For me, Celestine represented something that I think we all deal with in one way or another, and it's the perception versus reality of who we are and how much that can either shape or be distorted by people who are viewing us. And I don't think I would have had the bravery and the self-assuredness to have literally strangers tell me you can't have a child, you shouldn't, tell me what I deserve, tell me who I should be and how I should be living. That level of bravery and that level of just, Marcia said it, grit is incredible. And it can truly be a lesson to all of us, disabled and non, that who we are and what we are comes from ourselves and nothing else.
Grit really is the word for her. Absolutely. So tell us one thing that happened behind the scenes that you two want us to know about.
I'll be 100% with you. I think Marcia was both closer to the family and the people there and could provide a really great background and insight into what were those outtakes.
And but as a director, when we were on set, I don't know if it necessarily means that we have to tell a story about the family. You could just talk about the direction, something that people don't know that happened.
Well, I'll say then the documentary got to a point where it could have gone in 2 different directions. And it's super interesting to me to watch the 2 different reactions, to go the whole path of and I'm going to say strict intellectual, but strict educational perhaps is a good word for it, to a phrase, of delving into things like housing uncertainty, delving into things like, these ideas of perception of people with disabilities, and then to make that switch to something that felt almost purely narrative. It's a fantastic, in a director's and producer slash producer experience to marry the two. And I think, or I hope to one day get to the point where that's the type of work I'm able to do, where I am marrying narrative to things that are so deeply necessarily conceptually for us and educational, and that really shift the zeitgeist and our thought patterns, but to still bring you in with a character that is so charismatic, so undeniable. I mean, when you talk about pitching, I literally had to say so little about this woman and everybody was in awe. So she taught me, this whole experience taught me the importance of finding the undeniable and knowing that it does exist. And as somebody who came from narrative, to see that in the human condition where it wasn't trite and it wasn't overly, the word we use in the studio system is overly earnest, because she's such a real, down, hardcore, F-you human being. I was truly, truly inspired by the experience.
God, I love that. That's excellent. I want to take just a minute here, and you mentioned family and that you worked with the family, and I saw some of that. I mean, I've seen the episode, so I've seen her daughter speak, and they have just as much grit as she did. And I think that's so awesome that you included them. What was that like?
I think that I can't see this project being what it was if we hadn't included them. And it took us a while to lock her daughter in, but I was excited to do so. And you are correct. Not only does Naya have the grit of her mother, so does Karanda, but in different ways. And the reason why it actually took us a while is because of that grit. And growing up with their mother, they saw how the media would take advantage sometimes. And so that caused and does cause them to be pretty hesitant. And so I'm really grateful that we did actually get a chance to lock her in. And as Kashmir referenced before, it definitely changed the direction of the project for the better, in my opinion.
No, it must have. So what was your favorite scene in the episode? How did it come about?
For me, I feel like my favorite was when we showed outtakes or, just pieces of Naya's wedding with Celestine, because her personality really showed through. And it's one thing when people tell stories of a person, but when you actually see their personality, from them, and she was just so witty and very quick, and sarcastic as well. And I think that added another layer to the project as well, because a project like this could easily be seen as, oh, woe is me, oh, this is sad, but that wasn't her personality at all. And so when you had a chance to actually see her, you're like, oh no, like, why should I feel sorry for this individual? She didn't carry herself like that. She didn't feel sorry for herself. And so I really love that about the project.
Thank you.
Okay, so one last powerful question. We know this episode is about motherhood and disability above all else. Celestine was more than just a woman. She was a force. And she was not about to let someone take her child away from her. And let me tell you, as a new mother, I know that child was not just a child. It was her joy. And my wife loves to say she's a piece of our heart out walking around in the world. But standing up to the system to get that child back takes guts. Winning against that system takes an incredible amount of tenacity. And such a woman needs to be looked up to and admired, and generally she was someone to be in awe of. Telling that story must have been daunting to you. So what made you think you could capture all of it in this film?
I can throw something in there. I do believe that they even thought of me as for this particular project was because of the script I wrote when I had custody of my little sister and we came across country. The script is primarily about what happens when you lose all of your support systems and disability, a death in the family, and loss of your income happen all at once. And when you fall through, then there's no safety net. And in the story, the woman does lose custody of her child. And I think that experience did reflect, and if anything, it hit home really hard because I never had any intention of being a mother per se. But once you are caring for someone and you open up that part of yourself, I couldn't imagine somebody telling me you have no right. And to have been told that in one way or another and to have her react the way that she did. I don't even know. There was devastation, but it bounced back so quickly. I remember at the mention of it, my idea and sense of self was crushed. So my hope is that people will be able to walk away from this knowing that we are not only capable of more than we think we can, but we are capable of things beyond anybody can imagine, and we can't ever let that hold us back.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Okay. So thanks so much for talking with us, ladies. This was great, and the episode is amazing. And if you would like to see this episode, go to pbs.org and click on American Masters. The series is Renegades, and the Celestine episode aired tonight. And thank you for tuning into GGR's After Show.
Hello, this is Day with Geek Girl Riot. Welcome back for another in the series of our 60-second secrets focused on the Renegades film series from American Masters. Tonight's episode celebrates Celestine Tate Harrington, and it's quite fitting as tonight, October 15th, would have been her birthday. Out of all the Renegades episodes, the one about Celestine Tate Harrington is probably the most intimate. The film was honored with the trust of her family and her daughter Naya, without whom the film would have been so much poorer. Our 60-second secret isn't really a secret, just us adding maybe a few more details to Celestine's story. In the short film, we see Celestine on the Howard Stern show. Now, as a part of the show, Stern had on a group of personalities he referred to as the Whack Pack. And these were folks who tended to be unusual in some way. And honestly, he really was kind of making fun of them. Now, we see her talking to him and Stern giving her a hard time, and then Celestine giving it right back to him. She saw the benefit of publicity, and she's the one who originally reached out to him. After Stern's phone conversation with Celestine and hearing her play, he invited her to play at his U.S. Open Soars live event on October 7 in 1989. Celestine played the Star-Spangled Banner with her tongue at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum to an audience of more than 16,000. Now here's the thing. The crowd was booing her, and she didn't care. She was there to tell her story and her message. Celestine was fearless. You know, there's that clip where she even offers to sign a copy of her autobiography for Howard Stern. Truly, all publicity was good publicity, and Celestine, as Stern said, knew how to work a room. It mentioned her 1994 book, Some Crawl and Never Walk, and it was published with funding from heavyweight boxing champion Evander Holyfield. Get this, he met Celestine just by chance on the boardwalk and donated money to have her book published in hardcover. That was the power of Celestine Tate Harrington. This is Day with your 60-second secret on Geek Girl Riot.
You're back on Geek Girl Riot after that Renegades Aftershow for their third episode. I am Shireen, and I am joined by someone who's been my friend for more of my life than she hasn't been my friend, which is weird. Who are you?
I am Monica.
But yeah, sister friends, best good sister friends, the whole thing. And there's also Julian, who has been my friend for a shockingly long time as well. I think I said I'm Shireen, and he is Julian, because I already said that. Yeah, that's weird. But I'm just going to go with it because it's a live show and you guys know what to expect from me post-COVID with the COVID brain. Tonight, we're going to just talk, the three of us. But what we're also going to do is get into these super fan test groups that Hollywood has been developing. We're going to talk about our feelings about those things. We're going to be raw because we have been genre fans and behind the scenes makers of things for a long time. So we got thoughts. We're going to share those thoughts with you. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say that some of the recent stuff you can find on our RIOTUS website, that's RIOT-US.com, is Julian's take on Piece by Piece, the Lego biopic from Pharrell, which we enjoyed a lot. I just like the take. We enjoyed that. We've got The Apprentice from Julian. We've got Saturday Night, the biopic about Saturday Night Live itself. We've got the Disclaimer series. We've got Tomb Raider from Alex. We've got some talk about The Day of the Jackal, which is coming to, I think it's coming to Peacock, actually, and we have screeners for that. So we're going to get into that soon, but at least we're giving you a little preview about that. We talked about We Live in Time. We talked about the jokes on us with the joke of Fale Deux. It's just so much content on RIOTUS. You need to get in there. We got the Outrun on there. We got the franchise. We have got our rundown of the fall 2024 season lineup for Crunchyroll with all of our little previews. Crunchyroll was kind enough to give us some screeners. And so we break down some of their new fall lineup and what we're loving about it. And that's my little preview because, we needed y'all to know that we're working hard for you to entertain you constantly. Julian, can you give us the encapsulated thoughts on Piece by Piece really quickly?
Okay, yeah. Piece by Piece is usually what people make are from musicians and, certain famous creative commercial artists and stars and celebrities. A documentary where a filmmaker interviews that subject and then they interview people that they work with and known and friends and family. And Pharrell is different. So he was like, it should be Legos. And Morgan Neville, the director, who's made plenty of amazing documentaries, it's like, okay, we're going to make it Legos and take everything that you knew from essentially all of 2000s Black music and the Lego movie and mash it together. And you got Piece by Piece.
Yeah, beautifully and creatively done. A lot of fun to watch. I enjoyed it so much. I think that I really respect that Pharrell wanted to do it in this way, to express himself in a way that is not typical. And I think that speaks to all of us in a way that we want to create things and see the world differently. So just his love of undersea worlds and Neptune and where he grew up and all of those things flooding together to create Piece by Piece. I believe it's well worth the watch. Julian, what do you say?
Oh, yeah. I have certain biases. I like Legos. I've always been a fan of the Neptunes and Pharrell, Chad, basically all the Virginia Beach people. Mm-hmm. It's Legos that the music is very, connects with me from a certain period of time. And it was cool basically living in a type of nostalgia. And it's a good Lego movie. I like Legos.
It's a very good Lego movie. It's gorgeous. It's crafted.
And I'm going to come at it from the side of I haven't been able to see it yet, so I'm mad jealous. I love a good documentary. I love a good documentary. And the only thing that I love more than documentaries is creativity. And doggone it, This movie got oodles and oodles and oodles of it. And I also love me some Morgan Neville because I'm telling you, 20 Feet from Stardom was probably one of the best documentaries that I've ever seen.
So good.
Love a music documentary. Oh, the best.
Well
so yes,
said.
I cannot wait to see Piece by Piece. It is on my list because there's not a lot of movies I've been wanting to see in the theater, but this is definitely one of them.
And you should. You really should see it in the theater so you can see just all of the little pieces, literally how they come together, but also the expressions on the Legos, the way that they build out each character design to match the personalities of some of these artists that we know so well, the way that they represent Pharrell overworking himself. It's like everything is on a carousel whipping around him. Just an incredibly beautiful and smart way to address a life well lived in creativity. Okay, up next, something we liked less. Now I got to move on because I got to move on, lady. What do you want?
No, go. I'm fine.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, did you see the chocolate artist who did the big Lego of
yes, Amari? Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, he's a tremendous artist, and it's nice to see him take Rocky and immortalize him with all those little details made out of sugar and chocolate. We will share that with you on the post for this episode so that you don't miss that, and we'll get that over to Julian as well. And next up, something that we enjoyed less. I think Julian enjoyed more than I did, but maybe did not enjoy. And that is going to be Joker Folie 2, or as many people are calling it, Joker 2. Julian, you were able to do a review on that as well. Any first line thoughts?
Yeah, he made a movie purposely that no one will like.
Yeah.
No matter what he says.
Yeah, well, he threw a fit. That's what I call it. He threw a fit on screen. And I'm not sure if he was trying to say, well, if I had made the movie that my detractors wanted the first time around, it would have been trash like this. I don't know if he was like trying to teach us a lesson, if he was trying to burn through Warner Brothers money for no reason. But I definitely think this was a tantrum, and it shows. Because you have to understand that Todd Phillips is an extraordinarily good filmmaker, which is what makes him dangerous. I have a lot of problems with the first Joker movie. Julian liked it a lot more than I did. But this is just, the first movie was trash because of its message, but it was a beautifully made piece of shit. This is just shit from every angle, with really good performances, and it's indecipherable, and it plays around with the Joker that many people know from the movies. And I think enough said about that. Probably the less said about that, the better. So let's take from here on, unless there are objections. Do I have objections about moving on?
No.
Okay.
I have nothing to say about the Joker.
Oh, yeah. You're going to be mad when you see it.
No, I don't think I will. I don't think I'll see it. So it's all good.
That would be a wise choice. Wise choice. The needle drops weren't even good. And he's good at needle drops. The first movie used music extremely well. And this one does not. And when you have a voice like Gaga and you waste it, okay, you know what? Let's move on. So, friends, we're going to talk about this new thing that Hollywood's not necessarily new, but this developing treatment that Hollywood is doing, where they're taking in these superfan test groups to tell them whether a property is good, especially when it is, not especially, but when it is a franchise that has superfans, that they're using these fans to tell them if the movie works or not. And then they're making changes to these films and actually these TV shows based on those superfans, which I already know the three of us, or I'm guessing because y'all might disagree, but I'm going to guess the three of us all know that that is an extraordinarily bad idea, because we've been fans our whole lives and we have seen what a superfan can do to a property. We've seen it when Hollywood, bends to the superfans, and we've seen what a mistake that is. And we've also seen when Hollywood just makes the thing and how well that does. So I want to dive into this. Variety did this article about it that kind of started this conversation. And that article is called Toxic Fandom, How Hollywood is Battling Fans Who Are Just Out for Blood, from social media boot camps to super fan focus groups. All right, that's what we've got. Now, what do y'all think about this premise as a concept? How y'all feeling about that? Julian?
Well, I guess for me, I don't really consider, I have a problem with, I don't consider them fans.
Break that down.
I have a problem with the loud voices and who are, I guess, like the Snyder DCEU had a lot of very loyal, at times, fans of that specific
universe.
That specific, not even that universe, that specific viewpoint from that specific director and producer on those characters, but they're not fans of the characters. No. I guess my problem with it is that I always feel fandom is a mistake, but also we use fan too leisurely in regards to this stuff. Like those people who just really like Man of Steel on, they're not the same level of fan. I can say we are. Like, you ain't read enough books, you ain't watching enough shows, you ain't had enough conversations, you ain't talk about this enough. You ain't on this level. So my problem, I guess, would be is who is deciding what fans to talk to? Because the problem is the Hollywood people. Because if let's say I had the opportunity to ask them questions, that's the first thing. It's like, who are these fans you picking? Why do you consider them fans? Because I don't see them around any of the places I'm at.
Right. Those people were Snyderverse fans and only Snyderverse fans. And they were a small group that just did a lot of talking and employed a lot of bots. And that's how we got the fiasco of both of those Justice League movies, but a lot of the fiasco for me, Snyderverse, and not so much for other people. Monique, you sounded like you had thoughts.
Yes. So the thing is you're a writer, right? You have an opinion. You wrote the story because it makes you feel something, right? And as fans of that story, of that writer, you should want to take that journey along where the writer is trying to go. And then if you're guiding it in a certain direction, there's no more of the surprise in the unfolding of the story, and then when you're forcing the story to go in a certain direction, what about the rest of the fans? What about those people who are interested in seeing where the story is developing and blossoming to? I think as a writer, we want our characters to tell us where they want to go. And we want the story to tell us what it wants to tell us. But when you're forcing a point of view, it's not always healthy for everyone, right? And then you have these people who, have their own specific agendas, which you were just kind of alluding to, either they're sexist or they're racist, and they don't want to see people of color or women in certain lead roles. And, it's just a really unfortunate thing. It ruins a lot of great properties.
Or it doesn't give things the opportunity to develop.
Yes.
And I want to get into that a little bit because we have all of these properties that are based on older things. And it's kind of like the Skywalker syndrome. Okay. Older fans, and not necessarily all older fans, but I kind of agree with Julian. They're not fans. What they are people who want nothing to change ever. And often that includes what you said, Monique. It includes misogyny. It includes sexism. It includes, what's the word I'm looking for? It's anti-gay. Yes, it's all of these things. And, homophobia is the word I was looking for. And it includes all of these things. And none of that is good for the property. We cannot have an entire galaxy far, far away that always comes back to a Skywalker, to the point where random people are renaming themselves Skywalker. It doesn't make any sense. You have to be able to play. You guys know that I have this thing, same universe, different story. We have to be able to have different stories in a galaxy that vast. And what happened with The Acolyte is, yes, we agree that the opening episodes of The Acolyte, the writing wasn't great. It just wasn't. I have no argument with that, but that show had somewhere to go. I wrote an essay about it on RIOTUS.com. Julian and I have both written reviews. There was something going on there. It had something to say, and a lot of new fans and old fans were galvanized by this because they were seeing themselves in this property. And there's been a lot of Star Wars that hasn't been that well written, and there was no problems with it because it wasn't led by women. It wasn't led by Black and Asian people. It wasn't showrun by a gay woman. So they were fine. You know, or they weren't fine because we also saw a stormtrooper take off their helmet and he was Black and they lost their minds. So it's preventing these properties from growing. And I think the biggest mistake about these superfan test groups is that it just exacerbates the problem. It's going in the wrong direction. Right? Rather than finding, and it's a really difficult problem to solve, right? Because as Julian has pointed out to me, these fans are causing the numbers, or not fans, what do we call them? The angries are causing these numbers, I call them Star Bros when it comes to Star Wars, are causing these numbers to dip on shows because they are so like review bombing it and social media bombing it that it's crashing. So it is a problem that needs to be dealt with. But we all know here in this group, and our listeners know from being in comic book shops and being in other places talking about properties, that if you let a super fan test group or focus group determine what you make, you're never going to make anything because those folks will come to blows on what they want. They're never going to agree on what characterization is, who the character is in their soul, where the character can go. That's why great creatives have always listened to the fans, but they don't give the fans what they ask for. They give the fans what they know they want. And that's what good storytelling is. And I don't believe you can get good storytelling using this kind of homogenized way. It started with the executives. They realized that didn't work. So now they're moving to these test groups. And I think it's a mistake.
I agree. I think we have to allow the creativity to flow. You know, it's like they don't want to see it change. They don't want to see things move along and change. And it's kind of what the industry has always done. And you can look at it in the record industry, you can look at it in movies and television. This is why we have so many remakes. There's no like expanding, and there's no like, let's try this new thing, let's see how it works. And if it doesn't work at first, you know, just working it, reworking it a little bit. And that's why there was so much development back in the days, the music industry, when a record didn't sell so much at first, they kept working with the group and making it better instead of just dropping them right away if it didn't hit like right off the bat. And I think that we have to look at it in that way. Like things need some opportunity to grow and develop, and it needs to be allowed to blossom and change. And everybody wanting to have just the same thing and repeat that same thing year after year, property after property, you know, it gets boring. Like we might be happy for you to talk to a fan who just wants this one thing, but what is it for everybody else who don't get that same level of excitement for, you know, a man being a man with the project because we don't want to see that same thing over and over.
Well, I guess some of the problems also for me is in the producing, the studio, and executives with who they pick at times. Because while let's say with Star Wars is almost something that's also made as it's the canon in a lot of ways is made as they make new stuff.
Yes.
But with superhero stuff is where I don't like the people talking, but I can't always say that they're wrong because I'll look at something and I'll be like, why did y'all do that? I also think it's just like, it's sometimes the people they pick. Like Shireen doesn't like She-Hulk, and I don't like She-Hulk because for a lot of reasons to me is the people they picked, I don't feel have any actual respect, knowledge, or caring about She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And so while the toxic people are being terrible, I can't really stand there and say that they're completely wrong because I can see that these people actually don't really care about the Hulk, She-Hulk, Jen Walters, the characters in Jen Walters' life.
Hold that thought, Julian. We're going to take a break. This is Shireen, Monique, and Julian, and we'll be right back. You're back on Geek Girl Riot. with me and
Monique.
And Julian.
Julian, get right back into what you were saying about when they pick the wrong people for.
So sometimes, sometimes I feel they actually do pick the wrong people. So not only do you have a toxic newer, let's say with the MCU, we can also get to like the DCEU as it becomes the DC
Studio. DCU? Okay, yeah.
Sometimes they pick the wrong people and make some pretty bad choices or adapt the stories wrong. So it's like, Monique, you're right that things have to change. They can't be stagnant, but it's also like, well, every month they have all these writers and creative that actually do that. And they do that pretty well at updating the concepts and the characters, is changing in time. Every month, every week, there's new comic books. And it's like the people in charge, for me, especially with the MCU, is like, they don't trust those stories.
Right.
And those stories end up being way better than whatever they come up with to push along this TV show style Uber franchise that they've created. And I'm sitting here like, yo, you already got the blueprints. Like, you got like in music, it's like, yo, you already got the samples. They already been chopped. Like, why are you trying to remake this song and you made it worse? It's like, listen to those new rap songs that sample a rap song from 20 years ago and they make it worse. It's like, you got a sample of a sample of a sample. Like, what are you guys doing? Just do the story. They won when they did the story. And now they're not. They're not trusting it.
That's right. When they trusted Jon Favreau, for example, before they started messing with him, he understood what he was doing and he relaunched the MCU. And
he trusted those people. He trusted the story. He trusted
and he's
the
doing
comics.
the same thing with Star Wars. And it's funny because I do want to go back to what you said about She-Hulk, because you know that's a character near and dear to me. Is you're right. They treated Jen Walters, She-Hulk, and the Hulk, as you were saying, as jokes. And it's not that you can't be funny with those characters. She-Hulk is a character built to be funny. She is the mother of Deadpool. She's meant to make you laugh. But you also have to understand she is a hero. And she is a hero who loves her body. And when you take that and you twist it into this light-minded, not lighthearted, but light-minded, gimmicky set of things that is more reminiscent of Rick and Morty's kind of off-brand, quirky comedy randomness.
Which the creator came from.
Which is where she came from, Jessica Gao, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
When you do that, you lose so much of what makes She-Hulk a hero and someone to look up to, and that allows you to do something different from typical heroes. And I think that I know that that's what we object to. As Julian said, you've got all of this material, you've got all of these amazing creators, and even if you don't want them to show run, lean on them because they know what they're doing. They've proven that they can make shows that work, make stories that work. And it's maddening to get in there and watch a show or to watch a movie. And as Julian said, why did you do this? How could you mess this up? You've got several layers of blueprint. This story has been told 8 different ways. There were so many angles you can come at it from, but they choose to lose complexity. They choose to lose characterization. They choose to lose relationships. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I do agree that who they're picking sometimes is one of the biggest problems. Monique, any more thoughts?
No. So you're educating me more on the comic side of things. And, I don't come from that world like even Julian.
But, going back to something you said, Monique, and I'll just encapsulate it, it's let creators create, right? Because we know franchises work. Franchises work for, they're the top 10 movies at any time in this day. But creators, when we have a big new thing, I'll take The Matrix, for example. The reason The Matrix was so huge, and I remember, I think it was Joel Silver saying that they went to Warner Brothers and they were all like, we don't know what we bought, but we know we bought something cool. And by letting the Wachowski sisters do their thing and make something new, they created something special. We need more of that. Because that's where the industry should go, not superfan groups who are just going to drill down into the minutia and don't necessarily understand storytelling. Not that they don't, but they might not. And then you're going to, like I said, have fistfights because these folks do not actually agree. They may agree that they want more Snyder, but they don't agree on how these characters should be written or represented or how they should develop.
Yeah. I just think it gets to a point where while there's toxicity and there's bad actors, it'll like I don't talk about Agatha for the most part because I don't want to be lumped in with all the toxic people, but I don't like the show.
Right. It's very hard. You've got a great point there because She-Hulk, Agatha, if you don't like it and you are a good actor, you're in good faith not liking it, you have your reasons, you can also become one of the toxic throng.
You'll be lumped in from the other side because it becomes this partisan battle. It's just like, yo, like this ain't for me. So we're going to see the DCU is just basically starting. We're going to see what Creature Commandos, but that's an animated series, so not everybody's going to watch that. But next summer, when that Superman hit, it's going to be a lot going on. It's going to be a lot of talking. It's going to be a lot of bad actors. It's going to be a lot of we miss Henry Cavill. It's going to be a lot of this and that. And this is Superman. Why doesn't Superman do that? I want Superman to be Homelander. I want Superman to be more like Omni-Man. And they're like, no, but Superman's supposed to be nice and save cats out of trees. It's going to be this long debate. And then it's going to keep on going into the next thing, into Supergirl and then Lanterns. And Lanterns is already kind of bubbling because there's people that's like, it's the colorism conversation. And
break that down because I don't think Monique knows about this.
Oh, no, I know about this one. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like colorism is, I ain't really got to explain too much. No,
not colorism, but what's going on with this
particular character.
Yeah, with Aaron Pierre being cast as Green Lantern, John Stewart.
It's a minority, but it's not a bad actor minority.
No.
It's a one with an actual thing. It's like, y'all made a choice. Even if we like the actor, it's part of a trend. And it's like, But then you got bad actors like, you guys always make it about race. It's just like, there's complexities to this. And there's complexities with the character. And there's complexities with the creator of said character or why he colored him that way. It's just like,
I did see this one on Twitter and people were mad. Like, Javante Rhodes was right there. He's right there. So I don't again know the characters like that, but I mean, I did know that this was a dark-skinned character.
Yeah. So for our listeners who don't know what this is, everybody likes Aaron Pierre. I don't think there's many people who don't. He's great. So there's no argument about Aaron Pierre. The argument is about the fact that John Stewart in his conception is meant to be a dark-skinned Black man. And a lot of heroic roles are not going to dark-skinned Black people, period. And so folks were like, you had Stephen James. I didn't hear the Trevante Rhodes argument, but Damson Idris, there was this whole thing about all of these, dark-skinned heroes that we could have had. And we all know that probably Rebel Ridge had a lot to do with Aaron Pierre ultimately being cast. But as Julian said, it's not bad actors. It's really this question of, can Black people be represented in our full diaspora, in all our shades? And we usually are represented on our lighter scale. And that's difficult for us.
Yeah, it's once we start getting to those other intricate things, they start getting messy. And the Star Wars things have been toxic a long time. I've always had issues with Star Wars. I was a public Star Wars hater. I would say that from the rooftops because I got into too many arguments with Star Wars fans over like silly things. It's just like, oh, you guys treat this like religion. All right, I'm gonna hate this on purpose because I didn't grow up with it. So yeah, but I still watch my Star Wars. I still my Star Wars. I know it. Like I know the stuff. I know the key stuff. I know a lot more than the average person. I ain't gonna call myself a Star Wars fan, but they're by far the most toxic fan base group
I've never seen anything like it
in all of modern history.
It is jaw-dropping. Yeah, it is. It is frightening. Like they literally were mad about John Boyega being a stormtrooper in an era of the story that hadn't been explored except in books. And, mad about female leads, or I hate to use the word female when talking about humans, women leads. at families and mad about, our first Black and Asian led Star Wars, and I just heard the news that actually Andor is going to be 2 seasons and done.
It was always going to be 2 seasons.
Yeah, I know. But with everything else that's going on, Andor being 2 seasons and done just makes you a little sad. I do think that when they say cancel, they need to say end it, because some stuff is not canceled. It ends because it's supposed to end. But I have to tell you guys, I was surprised by the number of Star Trek toxic fans there are.
Yes, there's a lot of,
That's surprising. Right?
No, it's because it's different eras. It's different. It's a lot. And the fact that both those things started with people of color in them, by the way, but especially with Star Trek, it's full of people of color.
I was when I was a kid, so you better remember seeing all the people of color on Star Trek.
So it is literally a lie. If you call yourself a Star Trek fan and you're racist or misogynist, it's literally a lie. You're not a Star Trek fan. You're not a Trekkie. You're not a Trekker. You're just not it, because Gene Roddenberry would want no parts of you. It's very similar to Tolkien fans who want this all bleach Tolkien world. It's like the man was anti-fascism. He built this to talk about communities coming together. And so again, he would hate racist fans, misogynist fans. That was not
Star Trek was all about. Star Trek was all about going to bold new worlds and making friends and actually bringing the universe together. So I'm confused.
Yeah, but
Gene Roddenberry was like, "Hey, Nichelle Nichols, I need you."
Yeah, but some of those people never saw old Trek. A lot of that started from 2009 Trek, which is J.J. Abrams' Trek, which, while it has Zoe Saldana, the most profitable actress of all time, it's still kind of it is kind of, I would say,
it's whiter.
It's more whitewashed than the previous, because if you have the old Trek fans from the original series, and of course they're going to be like that because you had Sulu, you had Uhura, you had a Russian guy, you had a Scottish guy, you had Angry Bones, you had Spock, and the Vulcans were always kind of coded East Asian. But then you get to the new next generation era, and it's just nothing but it's all over. It's like, oh, we got Latin women, they're playing Klingons. We have our man from Reading Rainbow as the chief engineer.
LeVar Burton.
We got a woman captain here. We got
black.
We got Hawk from Spencer Vahaya running the space station. We have
Avery
black
Brooks.
Klingons, white Klingons, to the point where people just was like, nah, Klingons is black. It's like, I don't know you can go that far.
We got black Vulcans, not to be confused with black Vulcans.
You got everything is in with that period from the next generation to the end of Enterprise. It's just like, it's the utopia. It's like the humanists go, we gonna go into space, we done figured it out. Then it's Star Trek on the way. Then you got 2009 Trek. And then not everybody feels 2009 Trek as much as we like Chris Pine and everybody else. We got, but then you get the new shows and not everybody like the new shows. So that it just more and more
they said that
divide. That's it's more generational, and it's like you have bad actors who don't have any context of the past, nor do they care, and they're putting their toxicity in something that already had its own issues generationally, and you got terribleness.
So I'm going to turn a moment over to Monique, but before I go there, I just wanted to say that the makers of Star Trek Discovery said that the hate that they got for Shaniqua Martin Green and Michelle Yeoh being the leads of that show was like nothing they'd ever seen. That's mind-boggling, but we don't have a lot of time left. So Monique, I want to get your thoughts, and Julian, I'll get yours too. Why should we let creators create? I mean, we know that we like franchises, we're fans, but why should we also let creators create?
But, I'm a person who feels like when you're bringing somebody into your organization, you put them in certain positions that way they can do the thing that you hired them for, right? You brought in a creator because you felt like they would be the one to take the property and bring it to the next level, to bring in their creativity and enhance what you want to create. And if you're going to bring them in, why are you hamstringing them by telling them that, oh, you can create, but don't do this? And, you know, we love your ideas, but maybe you should do a little bit more of this. You know, I'm all for enhancing people's ideas, but if I'm the creator, then you need to let me do my job, and then you need to add to it or assist. But if you're taking away by putting all these constraints on me, saying, oh, you can't put a Black person in this role, or you can't put a woman in this role, or this has to be, you know, a person of this color, it all becomes very contrived, right? Your story is not allowed to blossom and travel to where it needs to go in order to build that creativity. So I'm fully of the mind that, you know, when you bring in a creator and they have certain ideas, that, you know, the best thing is to support them and within the parameters that, you know, they need in order to create.
All right, Julian, same question.
I think creators can create whatever they want to, but I guess in terms of getting the access to make certain things and get paid for them, I just think if they have good intentions, let them cook.
Why should they be allowed to cook, though?
That's something I struggle with.
Okay.
Because not everybody's going to get allowed to cook.
But
as a person that's not always allowed to cook, I don't know. I'm not in a good answer to say if somebody should be allowed to cook, because I don't know if I struggle with believing that that's possible.
Okay, so
if they were allowed to get into that position, then, you know, yeah, they should be allowed to cook, because, you know, and I'm granted that there's other people that want to be in those positions. And when we get to those positions, because I'm not always allowed to be in the position where I can cook either, right? But when we get there, I want to be able to let me have my turn at the stove. Let me throw in my ingredients. Let me do what I want to do. And as long as I'm within your parameters of budget and, you know, whatever constraints that need to be, let me do my thing and not have a fan who, you know, you feel like, oh, I've been following this property. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. And I'm going to tell you what to do. Like, you don't know where I'm going with my story. Why don't you sit back and be surprised by what I'm trying to do? Maybe you're going to learn something or feel something that you didn't expect to do or feel.
Yeah. But one of the things I think why it's important to let creators cook is because franchises started somewhere. What if the publishers didn't let Tolkien cook? You know, we never would even get Star Wars if the publishers hadn't let Frank Herbert cook with Dune. Like, everything that we love, from Superman to Batman to the Avengers to the X-Men, everything throughout all of these universes, all of this comes because someone somewhere was allowed to throw what they wanted to throw in the pot and make something, while not entirely new, was a new take on the genre. That's why you let creatives cook. If we don't let folks cook, how are we ever going to get some of the things we love most? Like The Usual Suspects, with that special take on the kind of hard-boiled detective genre mixed in with the police procedural, and flip that on its head. We don't get that if we don't let creatives go in and make something new. And I'm sorry I used an example of somebody that's known not good. It's so hard to pick examples and
think
not
about like a Rod Serling.
Terrible.
You think about
Rod Serling with Twilight Zone, which leads you to Black Mirror with Charlie Brooker. Let the creatives cook.
Yes,
and I say that because I got 10 seconds on this show, but we're going to talk some more. This is Shireen and
Monique
and Julian
on Geek Girl Riot. Okay, y'all, we're in extra innings on this episode. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about Piece by Piece, because as we wrapped up the show, we started telling Monique about Piece by Piece, just little things, little teasers. We're trying to make
really jealous.
Spoil anything. We are trying to make her jealous. That's one of the perks of being a film critic, honestly, is getting, but Monique is in the film industry, so she gets a lot of screenings too. Don't let her fool you. I was going to say surprise you, which makes no sense. But we're just going to tease y'all, Julian and I, with a few things that just made us love Piece by Piece. So I was saying, I'm just going to repeat, Monique, we cannot wait for you to see Piece by Piece.
And I cannot wait to see it. So excited.
Yes, just Julian, you said something about the recreations of the videos.
Yeah, it's really fun to see the recreations of things like Rum Shaker, and then like later on, like other different videos for songs he produced. It's
Like,
just it's how they try to like really capture the look of rap videos from the 90s to the 2000s. Is pretty funny with Lego. It's
hilarious. And go ahead. But I was going to say, I can't wait to say this, is when they introduced Kendrick, the whole movie turns black and white. All my life I had to fight. And you're just in there laughing because what the movie does is take you back to each of these moments in time. You can recognize if you live that long or if you have like older siblings or you have parents that were in that time, wherever you are, there's just like a vibe that takes you back to those moments, and it feels more universal because it's Lego.
Yeah, the recreation of certain looks is really also I found very inventive of recreating the Bape or certain outfits that he had on during different shows, or the hairstyles,
things that he designed,
the trucker hat, the different. As different people change, for like Jay-Z has two specific Lego figures, like short hair, like Caesar cut Jay-Z or Hov, and current I really like Basquiat Hov, and or the fact that they create a minifig for Pusha T with his braids. It's like,
and it's
that just made just like that's caring. Like it's like, but it's also like I wish they could put out all the figures because I would buy. And it's single.
Yeah, I would definitely buy the set.
We might get that set for FYC season. We could get that for our consideration for voting. That could come through. And if we are being heard, that's what we want. Because that's one that I would keep too. As we were talking about earlier, when we get to Snoop, the gags, there are some sight gags that because it's a family movie, they take adult themes and they flip them. Some deals on the street, some pharmaceuticals, they flip it so you know what it is as an adult, but kids are just not seeing what it actually means. Things with Snoop and how they introduce the smoke.
Yeah, him being an extra tall figure, and they putting the extensions on his feet. I also, it was interesting in how they showed many different versions of Gwen Stefani, which I was quite surprised at.
That was funny.
They
had her like in soccer mom mode, and then they had her in midriff bearing mode.
But yeah, I'm just a girl. Like I'm just a girl song look. Then like,
went into
All a Bad World. Yeah. But I was like, wow. I was like, you guys like Missy Timberlake. It's like it's a good. We're trying to recreate Virginia Beach in Legos is actually quite impressive.
Talking about how early on they talk about this idea of something in the water in Virginia, which, as you know, is going to loop you back to when Pharrell, they don't actually say it, but visually it loops you back to when Pharrell created the Something in the Water concert or festival. And you see that come through as well. His wife, Helen, speaks on record for the first time.
Yes, and she's a Lego. That's why I like it. But the first time you see her, it's like she's a Lego person, not her actual flesh and blood. So I love that level of privacy. I love it.
Yes, it's beautiful, but it's funny because they don't make her as tall as she's supposed to be. They make Snoop extra tall because for some reason Pharrell perceives Snoop as extra tall, but while his wife is way taller than him, she's not in the Lego, which is funny to me too.
A lot of people like actually we like Busta Rhymes is like pretty much taller than him by like a significant amount, and also like as we said, like Jay-Z is not short. Like I don't think Snoop Dogg is actually that much taller than Jay-Z. They both have NBA height, and it's just like Jay-Z's like a regular minifig, but Snoop is like Chewbacca sized minifig. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah. Like, one of the things, what's the director's name again, Mo?
Morgan Neville.
Morgan Neville. One of the things that Morgan Neville said is that the instructions for how to create the visuals are in the box. And what he meant by that is all of these creative people, the way that they describe things, like Pharrell talks about having synesthesia, which means that he can see music. And in his particular form of synesthesia, it's like when one sense ties into another. But so when he talks about it, that's what they do with the movie. When all of these other creatives talk about certain things, if there's not a video to it, then they actually create visuals that match what they're saying. And that's how they came about the look and the feel of this film beyond it being Lego. And that was a really smart move because, again, it gives us synesthesia in a way. You know, we're seeing the music the way Pharrell sees it, but we're also, to Julian's point, we're seeing people the way Pharrell perceives them. His wife and he are connected, so they're the same physical height. But other people he sees as ridiculously tall because that's the way he met them in the beginning. And so everything is from his perspective. We're seeing the world as Pharrell. That is the beauty of this movie. And
his children are also all babies all the time.
All the time. Papa. Yeah. And was he say yes, sir, or?
Yeah. Oh, he says yes, sir. But yeah, he tells him, well, yeah, but but like it's interesting for a long period. All his children are always babies all the time, even though like one of your kids is not a baby anymore, but okay. To you, they're your babies all the time. Okay.
And by the way, Jay is 6'2" and Snoop is 6'4". So yeah, there's really not a bunch of different.
I've seen them side by side. They both should have had the extensions. That's all I'm saying.
It's a shooting guard and a point guard. That's what we got. I mean, a point guard and shooting guard. That's what we got. But it's funny. So it was exciting for me as a music lover, as a Lego lover, as a film lover, as a lover of creative expression. And what Pharrell said is the reason why he wanted to do it. They kept asking him, we want to make a documentary. We want to make a documentary. And he said, first of all, he don't like the sound of his own voice. Raise your hand because I also do not like it. I don't like editing this show. I don't like it because I got to listen to me for an hour or more. But like, he doesn't like the sound of his own voice. He also just had no interest. He's like, there's nothing to be learned. And he said he's only interested in things where he can learn and discover things. There's nothing to be learned. He's like, I was there. I already know all that stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't find himself interesting, which is something I share with him in regards to myself. Yeah. I don't find me interesting, so it's just kind of hard to sit down. Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about myself. So I see I get you. Yeah. I get you, fellow Aries man.
And it's funny because I'm an Aquarius and I feel the same way. Like, this is why people don't think me and Julian do anything, because we just not telling you because we don't find it that interesting. It's like, you mean you went where? And it's like, oh, yeah. Monica, you know that's true about me. You're like, you did what? I was like, oh, yeah, I was but it's because it's not that interesting. We'd rather listen to people and learn stuff. And Pharrell feels the same way. So they kept pressuring him and they said, you can do it how you want. He said, I can do it how I want. You sure? And they were like, yeah. He's like, all right, we're going to make a Lego movie. And they made a Lego movie. And listen, I think it was a great choice.
Well, I'll buy that for $1.
Well, $1. Why are we using all these old expressions today? We're using silent generation.
RoboCop is always relevant in this current stage of society.
Well, ask Elon Musk. I'm sure he will agree.
He will. He's trying to copy it. He's trying to copy it.
Yeah, but we shouldn't ask him anything. We also don't want a robotic police force. But look at where we're at right now. I mean, the man made a whole van that looks like RoboCop's helmet. It don't make no sense.
No, it's actually a copy of a vehicle in the iRobot movie, in which the director is now coming out. It's like, yo, you stole the art direction from the movie. I hope the studio sues them.
And now they're coming out with a whole fleet of autonomous taxi cabs too
that look like RoboCop. Those really do look like RoboCop. I was kind of making a joke because to me it also looks like Ultron. But yes. But I didn't know that they stole it from their robot.
The design of the robots, the car, it's literally when people are like, oh my God, iRobot is becoming real. It's like, no, he's copying the design aesthetic.
But let's talk about how those things are not going to work on the street. Think about that with that no undercarriage. Think about that hitting its first speed bump.
You have to get rid of the speed bump.
Oh. sir. No. So anyway, let's not. Well, we can actually close this out if there's not anything else.
Piece by piece. Hopefully, again, he has his own Lego set too. It's just like his little space rocket, and you get to like make yourself as a figure so you can go to space with Pharrell. It's like $100. I think maybe $100 or $150. It's pretty cool.
I made the fake one on our Instagram. There's a little fake me piece by piece figure in the studio with Pharrell. So there's that. But yeah, I don't know. I want the movie set. That's what I want. You've given me.
Yeah, it's like $100. Lego Over the Moon. It's called the Over the Moon set. And it has Pharrell and Helen and a bunch of heads so you can make like yourself and you can go on trips to space.
That's real cool.
With Pharrell and Helen and in the little rocket ship.
So there you have it, Mo. That's why we want you to see piece by piece. That's why we want our listeners to see it too. It's we appreciate. This is what happens when you let creatives cook.